Linus Tech Tips reviewed a product from a company called Peekdo, which allowed him to connect his PC to a display totally wirelessly. But the real kicker was that when he did a latency test, it showed that connecting wirelessly using this technology had virtually no difference of input lag versus if you were hardwired using an HDMI cable, which is mind-blowing. And apart from this super shady company website,
meaning it would never goes wrong because you don't have to rely on customer's system, something like cable, which is the safest.
He was really impressed with the product, but he said there was one limitation that if the company could overcome, he could easily recommend it to other people.
What it can't do is 1080p 120 Hz. If they could fix that, 1080p 120 would make this easy to recommend for gamers who want to have their TV across the room from their PC with no wires, or have a projector up in the ceiling without running an HDMI cable. Lots of things, actually.
Well, Peekdo did it, and right now I am gaming at 1080p 120 Hz, and it is amazing. And it's not just capable of 1080p, but it can also do up to 4K at 30 Hz. To be clear, I was extremely skeptical about this. The instruction manual that it came with was awful, and I could not get it to work. And I was at the point where I was just about to throw it away and just be like, this is BS technology, this is a super shady company, they just, were sent Linus the only working model or whatever. But I'm glad I stuck with it because it turned out that I had just reversed the modules. And so once I flipped it, it worked. And again, this is witchcraft. It is amazing. I'm gonna game, and again, just to show you, there is no cables apart from the power cable that's sticking out of the laptop right now. And as long as you have line of sight up to, I believe, 100 feet or 30 meters, you should have flawless connection. Just absolutely buttery smooth. Oh God, where is he? I can't see my crosshair at all. That's the biggest problem. Probably just easier to just knife him at this point. By the way, did you guys know, it's been so long since I played, they blocked this top thing so you can't snipe there anymore. I had no idea. Like, I wish I were hyping this, but it seriously is incredible. What makes or breaks wireless technology though is how much you have to fumble and interfere and mess with it to get it to work, especially when powering up from a powered off state. So my biggest concern was, what if I go ahead and put the laptop into sleep? And I shouldn't have done it while I had CSGO running because that might introduce more latency just for the system to boot things up. But I just put everything to sleep. As you can see, my laptop is now black because I have pushed the power button. But watch what happens when I power it back on, because this was my biggest concern, was that would I have to hardwire it, power everything on, and then introduce the wireless connection? Because if that's the case, then the most practical use case scenario, which I could see, is that you have a projector in the ceiling and you want to play PC or you want to play your consoles, because this doesn't just work with PCs or laptops, it works with anything that's got an HDMI out. So all your consoles or whatever else has it. And as you can see, it popped up totally fine, and I'm gonna log in. Oh, all right, now the audio's back on for some reason. But as you can see, it worked totally flawlessly. You don't have to climb up to your projector to reconnect things or to figure out what's wrong. It just works. I don't own a projector TV or have any consoles because I'm not a big console gamer, but just for kicks and giggles, I connected it to my camera and used my monitor as a wireless monitor, and boom, it worked beautifully. They claim that the connection is gonna be strong up to 100 feet. Now, unfortunately, my studio is not 100 feet long, but I will go ahead and get up and move around with that video displaying, and as you can see, I am controlling it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get up and move around and once I unplug this, you might get a little bit of latency, but that has more to do with the laptop's performance than it does with the actual connection. But as you can see, as long as you've got line of sight, you should be good to go.
I'm gonna maybe lose a little bit of here because I'm losing line of sight here, and maybe again here, but I'm gonna start moving back, and I'm gonna say I'm probably about 20 feet away, 30 feet away, and as you can see, it's running perfectly fine. Now watch what happens if I go ahead and turn around and lose line of sight. You should see some stuttering, I think. Let me go ahead and push it right against the wall. Yeah, I think it's totally stopped, but let me go ahead and turn back around, and again, it's back up. Let's try just one more time. I'm gonna face the wall. You can see that it stopped, and then if I come back and face it, then we're good to go again.
You might be wondering, well, what if I have something that's not an HDMI out? What if I have something like an iPad that has a USB-C display out, or an Nintendo Switch, which has a USB-C display out? Could I use that with this? Well, That's what Peak Duo is doing right now. They have a Kickstarter going where instead of this HDMI connector, they're doing a dock, and in that dock, you can use a USB-C display out up to 1080p 120 Hz or 4K 30 Hz. Now, before you go and spend your money, first of all, Kickstarters are always a little bit iffy, and even though Linus and I clearly received well-working products, that doesn't mean that it's a guarantee that these guys are gonna deliver on their claims. So always a huge disclaimer, please buy at your own risk. And the second thing is I'm gonna double down on Linus's shadiness claim on this website. The product that I have here, you cannot buy on their website for some reason. You can buy the downgraded version where you get 1080p at 60 Hz, but not the 1080p 120 Hz. I don't know why, because this is clearly the one that I and seems like Linus would recommend, but you can't do that. So again, just please proceed with caution here. Let me know down in the comments below that if the 120 Hz version was released, if that's something that you'd pick up, and if so, what would be your use case? All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this one. Until next time, stay safe, and as always, stay honest.